It's becoming almost painful to watch. I mean, this woman clearly is either just misguided, doesn't have a clue. To miss the biggest political charity event ever, to blow it off like that and to phone it in and use an actor for your skits. I mean, Kamala, we can't help you. Okay, I feel bad for your team. There are rumors online today that she called one of her team members and berated them quite viciously on the phone. These are unconfirmed reports circulating online. Apparently, the young woman who advised her not to do this Catholic charity dinner, she was left in tears. The advisor apparently didn't think it was going to sit well with the pro-life, or forgive me, the pro-choice crowd, etc. So they told her to blow it off. Ladies and gentlemen, the last person to blow off this Catholic charity event dinner, which is a big deal, and everyone goes on both sides of the aisle, last person to blow it off was none other than Walter Mondale. Okay? So, she could just go down in history with the likes of Mondale. How do you like that? Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. It is so good to have you here. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday to you. We're watching the poll numbers. He's climbing and climbing and climbing. I'm going to get to these new records. But before I do, did you see the Al Smith dinner there in New York City? They broadcast it live. And again, this is everyone goes. Hillary was there and Trump was there last time. Well, 2020 was a little different because everybody had masks. Everybody was in their basement. But historically, everyone goes to this. Both candidates go, Democrats go, Republicans go. It is supposed to be in the spirit of bipartisanship. But Kamala couldn't go. No, she phoned it in. And that meant Donald Trump had center stage, and believe me, he loved it. I mean, talking about taking all the limelight, soaking up the sun, so to speak. He had a few jokes along the way.
Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't he look glum? He looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president. And I actually said, do you mind if I do that? And he said, no, you got to do what you got to do. He's a pro. He's a professional.
Okay. So, Chuck Schumer's there. Kamala Harris can't be bothered to go. No. Again, she phoned it in, literally. This is unbelievable. Anyway, he had a good time. He stole the whole show. He's telling joke after joke after joke after joke. Here's one.
There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris. Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me. Every one of those people is voting for me.
Okay. Again, there's no Kamala. I
used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim Walz.
Oh, poor Timmy. Poor Timmy. I mean, it was a fun time, right? So you're supposed to be able to roast the other side, and then the other side gets up and they roast you, and everybody shakes hands, and, they say cheers because it's all in the name of charity. But apparently Kamala wasn't doing it because it was a Catholic charity. I mean, they gave some excuse about her campaigning in Timbuktu, but I'm telling you, Timbuktu's not voting for you, Kamala. We just saw the latest out of Michigan. We're seeing the latest out of Wisconsin. We're seeing the latest out of Pennsylvania. And I'm sorry, lady. I'm sorry. I've seen the latest out of Polymarket. Presidential winner expected to be elected would be Donald Trump. We're looking at a 60, not even 40 split here. All right, so this is real money on the line. People are there's no way she's winning. There's no way she's winning when she can't even bother to show up at the biggest political event that's bipartisan. And Donald Trump takes center stage, so much so that, what were they talking about over on CNN? Well, you had one guy who despises Trump, with every single cell in his being, despises Donald Trump, has written a book about how much he despises Donald Trump. Anyway, he gets on TV And he's praising Donald Trump. I mean, Kamala, you missed out, lady.
Brian Stelter, what did you make of this performance?
Oh, no, don't ask me first. I thought he was funny. I thought he actually got a few great jokes in. I thought the best moment was we talked about the assassination attempts and made light of what he's experienced, because I think he's experiencing real trauma, real PTSD as a result of the shootings, but he's still able to have a light moment in this room. And he took advantage of the fact that Kamala Harris wasn't there.
Which is really the subtext of this whole thing.
Exactly. That she
They're
didn't
usually
attend.
supposed to be in the same room.
Yeah, in the same room. That would be the idea, you know, at these charity events that are bipartisan, in the name of charity. So Kamala, you blew it. Kamala absolutely, positively blew it again, ladies and gentlemen. She decided that it would be perfectly fine to just, you know, call it in or actually tape a whole skit. You remember all those days when she was in hiding and we couldn't find her anywhere? And people were like, what is she doing? What is she doing? And the spokespeople would go on CNN and they'd say, well, she's very busy. You know, she's the vice president and she's crisscrossing the country. Well, no, she was taping all these like weird commercials and little skits like this, which totally fell flat last night. Really, really flat. Because it's a live event and everybody's there together. And that's part of the fun, right? That's part of the dynamic. But Kamala can't be bothered because she's got this, that, and the other to do. And by the way, she wants everything so controlled. So controlled. And apparently realizes that she has no sense of humor. Zip zero, not a none. So she hired an actress, formerly on SNL, to come in and help her out with this little video, which she sent. Watch.
Cool. Oh, sorry.
Hey, what's going on? Who was that?
Oh, sorry, Mary Catherine Gallagher. Mary Catherine Gallagher. It's so nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you, Mary Catherine. Right now I'm trying to record my speech for tonight's dinner.
Oh, yeah, I know. I just want to say that I'm Catholic, and tonight is one of the biggest dinners next to the Last Supper.
It is a very important dinner, and it's an important tradition that I'm so proud to be a part of.
Sometimes when I get nervous, I stick my fingers under my arms and I simmer them like that. But that's gross.
So tell me something. I'm giving a speech. Do you have some thoughts about what I might say tonight?
My feelings about what you should say tonight would be best expressed in a monologue from one of my favorite made-for-TV series.
Okay, let's hear it.
Don't you see, man? We need a woman to represent us. A woman brings more heart, more compassion. And think how smart she must be to become a top contender in a field dominated by men. It's time for a woman, bro. And with this woman, we can fly.
What series was that from?
Oh, that's from House of Dragons, now streaming on HBO Max.
Is there anything that you think that maybe I shouldn't bring up tonight?
Well, don't lie. Thou shalt not bear false witness to thy neighbor.
Indeed, especially thy neighbor's election results.
Just so you know, there will be a fact checker there tonight.
Oh, that's great. Who?
Jesus. And maybe don't say anything negative about Catholics.
I would never do that, no matter where I was. That would be like criticizing Detroit in Detroit.
Does it bother you that that Trump guy insults you all the time? Because it really bothers my friends and me.
Oh, Mary Catherine, it's very important to always remember you should never let anyone tell you who you are. You tell them who you are.
Haters gonna hate, hate, hate. Shake it off.
Shake it off.
Shake it off.
Shake it off. Good for you, Mary Catherine.
Oh, yeah, okay. And also remember one more thing. Don't worry if you make a mistake, 'cause Catholic people are very forgiving. Yeah, and also one last thing I want to tell you. Don't forget to say, superstar!
Thank you, Mary Catherine.
Thank you, Mamala.
Thank you. Your Eminence and distinguished guest, the Al Smith dinner provides a rare opportunity to set aside partisanship and come together to do some good.
Yeah, which is why you should have been there. I mean, that was awful. It was awful. Mary Catherine Gallagher was good, okay? Like, she's the highlight of that. But Kamala, you're supposed to be the funny one. And, you know, that wasn't really funny. That was just more political messaging, nonstop messaging, okay? We're tired of it. She's losing, guys. She's losing really badly. I got to get to these poll numbers. But quickly, we're heading into the weekend. And you know what I tell you to do every weekend? Take stock of yourself. Take stock of your financial well-being or not so well-being, right? Because inflation is serious. And I know everything costs more and it's really, really painful. But I'm telling you, you don't want to get left out because the elites are going to help the elites. And when they help themselves, that means more money printing and more asset valuation increases, which means stock market keeps going up. It's just amazing to see. Anyway, this is our portfolio over at 76 Research. All three of our portfolios, all of our model portfolios all together. These are our top stocks by sector, total return. I have this company. Some of you know financial research is sort of my baby and my specialty and how I started my career. And I wanted to have the chance to bring this to you guys. So I teamed up with a brilliant investor who's been a longtime friend. Wonderful, wonderful guy and wonderful family friend. And he ran billions of dollars on Wall Street for a long time. And I said, you know what if we did this differently? Instead of you being in the asset management business, instead of you selling research for tens of thousands of dollars to investment banks, what if we actually did this in a completely different way and we sold it really cheaply but at a really large scale? Because my belief is that everybody should have equal access to good financial research, and that's what we pride ourselves in. And this is hard to beat the S&P. When I started on Wall Street at Goldman Sachs a zillion years ago, the whole thing was, can you beat the S&P? Can you beat the S&P? Can you beat the S&P? It's not easy to beat the S&P, especially when you're doing what we're doing, which is not putting stocks that are from the S&P in our portfolio. We really trying to go outside that because our feeling is you can buy the S&P and we're trying to have this value add. So take a look. You can see top consumer pick up 25%, financial pick up 24%, utilities 24%, and so it goes. Median stock increase in the last 3 months of 10.8% versus the S&P of 5.9%. So I mentioned that because we are going into the weekend. 76research.com is where you should go. Click on the model portfolios. If you can, get the Founders Club because it's the best value. We'll get all the portfolios and there's 10 to 15 stocks in each one. Rob and I were just talking earlier today because we're making a switch. We're making a switch in the basic income provider portfolio because one of the stocks in there has just soared like crazy in the last few weeks. It's way, way, way up, which we love, of course. But you say to yourself, can that upside continue forever? And there's another company we've been eyeing. So our recommendation today is to take a little bit off the table in that one company and to go in on another. So we don't make a ton of changes only because we're kind of these buy and hold kind of people. But I just want to alert you to that. 76research.com for those of you that are interested in investing. I mean, there's just so much going on right now. And I'll tell you this, the market is gearing up for a Trump win. I mean, Stan Druckenmiller runs $1 billion+ hedge fund, brilliant investor, one of the smartest guys on Wall Street. He was just on Bloomberg this week and he said as much. They asked him, who do you think is going to win? He's like, well, I look to the markets to tell me who's going to win. And the markets are telling me it's Trump. You know what else is telling you it's Trump? You know what else is telling you it's Trump? The polls themselves, all of the polls are indicating Donald Trump is moving full steam ahead. The momentum is with him. As I look at Polymarket today, I'm still looking at a 60-40 split there. Not even 40. She's at 39.9%. Do you see this? I'm going to show you again. I love zooming in on these graphics here because it tells you so much. Look at this. Look at this. I mean, so this chart, you can see how they were crossing over a little bit. That happened right after that debate. Remember that debate where she just attacked, and we didn't get anything substantive. And then she was supposed to get that debate sort of bounce. She got a little bit of a debate bounce. Actually, I should say she was supposed to get a bounce coming out of the DNC. She didn't get a bounce coming out of the DNC. It's one of the reasons why Nate Silver said in his model she was suffering. She was really suffering. Well, they've been kind of neck and neck, and all of a sudden in the last couple of days, ladies and gentlemen, look at what I'm looking at. In the last couple of days, there has been this massive breakout for Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. And so you're now in this 60-40 territory. Absolutely massive. I mean, I just think this is incredible to see. It's going to be a heck of an election. I'm not saying you should count your chickens before you hatch. I know you guys, we're all kind of superstitious about that, and we don't want to get too excited, but this is really quite something. So again, Polymarket indicating that. You see Nate Silver's note where he just came out and said, look, for the first time since the debate, Donald Trump is now showing a majority chance at winning. And this is according to his model. So this just is based on polls, whereas Polymarket is actually people putting money to work saying, I'm going to take a bet. I'm going to place a wager, so to speak, and predict that this candidate is going to win over this candidate. And so I like those because there's real money on the line, and actually only twice since like 1866, the prediction markets have been wrong. So that's a pretty healthy indicator of where things are. When I look at Nate's sort of analysis of this, I'm seeing a similar story, but it lags, right? It's kind of like a lagging indicator because the polls, they lag, but they're sometimes missing something because not everybody is entirely truthful in terms of what they say and in terms of how they say it. CNN is admitting this now. CNN's poll guy was on TV just today and saying, hey, like one of the things that you got to keep in mind is that not everybody is so forthcoming about who they're going to vote for, especially when it comes to the Trump voters. They tend to be a little bit on the silent side. Now, is all of that baked in? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think it is. Like when I look at these polls and I see that people are not answering truthfully, I go back to what happened in 2016. So if you go back to what happened in 2016, you got to keep in mind that Donald Trump is way ahead of where he was in 2016 or where he was in 2020. And this is what was outlined today on CNN. Let's take a listen.
I think there are a lot of folks such as myself who think that Donald Trump's unpopularity is baked in. But here's the deal. If you believe that Donald Trump has somehow become less popular over time, let me change your mind about that. In fact, he is more popular at this point in the campaign than he was at this point in the 2020 campaign or the 2016 campaign. Look, he's still underwater, right, with a negative 9-point net favorability rating. But that is higher than he was in 2020 at minus 12 points when he nearly won. And it is way higher than the minus 27 net favorability back in 2016 when he did win. So I think there's this real question in Kamala Harris's mind, in the campaign's mind, why is Trump more popular now than he was at this point in 2020 and 2016? And I think that is why you're seeing the sharpening attacks, because they want to put him back down to here, or even there's no way that they're necessarily going to back down to here, but they want to make Trump more unpopular than he is right now, because he's more popular now than at either point in 2020 or 2016.
So this could be what they're saying with regard to moving Donald Trump. Could it have something also to do with what they're saying with their candidate, with Kamala Harris or something?
Yeah, look, Kamala Harris is more popular than Donald Trump. But Kamala Harris had her popularity rising once, of course, she became the presumptive Democratic nominee. Look, she was at minus 15 points back on July 17th, then minus 4 points on August 17th, then 1 point on September, plus 1 point. She was actually in positive territory a month ago, but she has fallen back down to minus 1. The momentum of Kamala Harris has stalled. And I think they feel like they have to change something that's going on in their campaign because they were seeing a rise, and now it is stalled out. Look, she's still more popular than Trump. But look, Joe Biden was more popular than Trump, much more, and barely won. And Hillary Clinton was more popular than Donald Trump and lost. Being more popular than Trump isn't enough. She wants to continue to see her favorabilities rise, but in fact, they're going in the wrong direction.
They're going in the wrong direction. And so I don't think any amount of podcast interviews or Fox News interviews, I mean, that one was just a total disaster. We talked about that yesterday, did we not? Whew, I've never seen anything like that. Anyway, she's very bad. She's just very bad at her job. So they get themselves a lemon, okay? They got themselves a lemon. They had a lemon, a really ripe old lemon, and now they got themselves a young lemon. It's still a lemon, all right? Whether it's Joey or whether it's Kamala, you still got yourselves a yellow lemon. And it's really not going to fly. And so they're looking at this. They're like, what do we do? What do we do? You heard that the CNN guys say they don't understand. How can this be? Kamala's like, well, how can it be? Like, how can I be less popular than Donald Trump? What is the issue? What is the issue? My favorite soundbite.
But it's men. I mean, I think the real struggle for the Harris campaign is young men, older men, men of color, white men.
Men, okay? You know, a few years back, maybe 3 years ago, Hillary Clinton went on to one of those late night shows, and she said, you know, I don't think this transgender issue is really, really working. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the best way to win people over. You might actually lose a lot of people. And, you know, and I think at the time they were kind of thinking suburban moms, whatever, that they wouldn't be buying into this. And we did see some of that, right? Remember the backlash against Target? But the real problem, actually, I think, is actually the men. I think that the transgender stuff, the idea of men competing in women's sports, for example, that has actually really alienated a lot of men, including, you know, the thing that happened at Bud Light. I mean, with Dylan Mulvaney and the marketing disaster that was, and yet you got companies that are still doubling down on this woke stuff. I want to show you the latest and greatest from the Victoria's Secret runway. Victoria's Secret has just somehow figured that they're not going to learn from Bud Light's mistakes. And so they are debuting their newest models. And they're not women. Sporting. So
Sorry.
Hey, what's going on? Who was that?
Oh, sorry, Mary Capielli.
that wasn't meant to be. But you had the models that aren't actually female, followed by Kamala saying, hey, what's going on? What's going on? We may get in trouble with that because there was some music, so we'll deal with that later. If you are joining us after the fact and you see there's like this brief moment where there's no sound, you'll know why. We just had to take out the music because they have rules about those things. I didn't realize. I had seen the video though, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, and so I go back to the issue of why can't she resonate with men? Kamala Harris has somehow alienated a lot of men because the whole thing has been, you know what, we got to be accepting. We got to be this, that, and the other. We got to do everything we can to welcome in this 0.01% of the population, which I'll tell you, if she gets her way, is going to be even higher, like much, much higher. There's a bit of sound that I wanted to share with you that we're putting on the shorts feed today. If you don't follow my shorts feed, please make sure you do. But I'll tell you, history comes back to haunt this woman because there is this little thing called tape. And I want to show you some tape from 2019. Kamala Harris talking about how she went out of her way. This is in her own words. Kamala Harris went out of her way to do what she could for the transgender population of criminals in prisons in Northern California to ensure that your tax dollars could go to making sure that they got surgeries.
It was an office of a lot of people who would do the work on a daily basis. And do I wish that sometimes they would have personally consulted me before they wrote the things that they wrote? Yes, I do. But the bottom line is the buck stops with me. And I take full responsibility for what my office did. But on that issue, I will tell you, I vehemently disagree and in fact worked behind the scenes to ensure that the Department of Corrections would allow transitioning inmates to receive the medical attention that they required, they needed, and deserve.
And there you have it. 60-40 right now, with the idea being that somehow men are the ones that are not going to vote for her. And you wonder why, right? You wonder why. I think that Hillary Clinton called it right way back when she got in all that trouble and like the trans community went bonkers on her and she was nearly canceled because she dared to say, you know, this is not going to be a winning issue. I mean, Joe at least had the guys, okay? Kamala, you don't have many people. No, you don't. And somehow now it's like our fault. And your fault. If you're a guy, it's totally your fault. Just let's be very, very, very clear. Joy Reid is blaming all men. White men, brown men, and black men, she said. Although black and brown men, less so. But basically just men. I'm going to get to that in a second. But first, a shout out to our friends. You can take this as a guy. I take it as a girl. Balance of Nature. These are the vitamins I take every single day. I take my fruits and veggies, courtesy of Balance of Nature, one of the wonderful sponsors here on the Trish Regan Show. You can get the best deal. I've seen some offers out there for like 10, 15, 20% off. This one is 35% off. So this is the best that I've seen anyway. And I want to encourage you to go over and take a look at that at balanceofnature.com. You have to use my code word though, Trish, Trish, my name. Use my code Trish and get that 35% off plus free shipping. You're going to be helping yourself and you're going to be helping this show because we like to keep our sponsors happy. I told you guys my kid's music teacher takes it. Was like, oh, Trish, I take that too. I'm like, wait, how do you know I take it? And he said, oh, I listen to your show every day. So I'm like, that's great. I'm so glad that you do. Call 1-800-246-8751, 1-800-246-8751 for your Balance of Nature today. So Kamala Harris can't figure out why she's not popular. They've determined that maybe it's because they just haven't been harsh enough on Donald Trump. And if they ratchet up the attacks, well, maybe that'll work. Maybe people will finally believe them and they'll realize, oh, you know what? This is really something that, we got to prevent. History is going to be shaken forever. So I was looking at the airwaves today, and I won't bore you with it. Maybe next week we'll sort of see and collect how many people are saying this stuff. But you had Jessica Tarlov, bless her heart, on Fox News. She's actually in real life a very nice girl. She's just very misguided, shall we say. And she needs some voice lessons. I told her that once. I remember the boss telling me, what are you talking about? She doesn't need any voice lessons. She's a Democrat. We're fine with them sounding bad. In all seriousness. Anyway, so poor Jessica, she's saying, I don't know if I'm going to have a job. I think I'm going to be taken off the airwaves if Donald Trump wins. You have Joy Reid saying that. You have that woman with the really long face and the long blonde hair. She used to be a Republican, Nicole Wallace, over on MSNBC at 4 o'clock saying that. They're all like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be off the air. I'm going to be off the air. I'm going to have no career. It may just be Whoopi, okay? Whoopi will be off the air. I've told you guys that before. And it's not actually going to be because of Donald Trump. It's actually just going to be purely because of her and that horrible show, The View, which needs to come off as of yesterday or as of however many years ago. They're just not going to pay for that show anymore. As soon as ABC News gets sold, and believe me, it will get sold if anybody would buy it. They're looking at some private equity shops that are just going to try and run it right down into the ground. You're going to eke every little bit of profitability out of that thing until there is none left anymore because nobody's watching that kind of news. So, Whoopi Goldberg, I guess we'll go do a podcast somewhere. Nothing wrong with that. Trust me, right? I'm very happy to do a podcast. It's actually great over here. But that'll probably be her future. So she's an acquired taste. If you have that taste, you can go watch her there. Same with Joy Behar and the rest of them. But there will be no more View. Other than that, you know what? Everybody's going to be fine. He's not going to take people off the air. I mean, that's something you have to worry about with the likes of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I mean, they've already told us over and over again, misinformation, disinformation. They've already done it, for goodness sakes. Look what happened with the New York Post after publishing a true story about Hunter Biden's laptop. So we already have the evidence. But Joe Biden, he's out there doing that. I mean, poor, what's his name, Matt Taibbi, having the IRS show up on his doorstep. He's a reporter that used to be kind of liberal, and now he's gone the other way because, he's seen the light, so to speak, after they stick the feds on him because he happened to have the so-called Twitter tapes or whatever, all the hot data from the State Department about what they were trying to do at Twitter. So I look at it and I'm like, I think it's pretty clear. I mean, we've had 4 years of Trump and we're all still standing. If he was really that against the media, could the media have just sounded off about him nonstop? I don't think so. Anyway, Joy Reid has a theory on why it is that Kamala Harris is hemorrhaging so badly. Let's watch.
At this point, you can't call what Trump is running a campaign. As friend of the show David Corn points out in Mother Jones, what Trump and J.D. Vance and House and Senate Republicans are running is a massive disinformation campaign aimed at warping Americans' reality. And they're doing it with violent, terrifying, and sometimes bizarre conspiracy theories that set the table for maybe armed resistance to a Kamala Harris win or mass acceptance of American fascism. Trump and Republicans, backed by far right-wing billionaires like Elon Musk and right-wing media and anti-woman manosphere podcasts, are creating social media or gaming social media apps like X Twitter in Trump's favor and pumping disinformation into the brains of Trump supporters. Not quite foreign interference, but not exactly different from what Vladimir Putin would do. And in many ways, the disinformation campaign...
Okay, here it comes. She's going to go after men, so just be prepared.
...is working. Base Republicans today believe everything from Democrats secretly manipulating the weather from a secret base in Alaska to Trump being incapable of losing this election. He's winning in a landslide. And some Democrats are starting to believe the disinformation, too. Have you noticed how sharply the polls have shifted in Trump's favor over the last couple weeks? with these claims that Trump is surging with Black and Latino voters and leading in every single swing state, according to secret internal polls, despite all the Hitler talk? Yes, this race will be far too close. Because unfortunately, we do have a fascist groundswell in parts of this country, mainly among white men, let's be clear, but in small pockets among Black and brown men, too. This happens to be a global phenomenon as women become more economically independent.
All right, guys. You're hearing it from Joy. You're hearing it from Barack. You're hearing it from Kamala. Apparently you're the problem. But, maybe the sort of looking down, if you would, one's nose at men and masculinity is part of the issue here. Can you blame men for not liking the woman who thinks they're pretty much useless? I mean, Joy Reid goes on about how, women are making so much money these days, and so now they have the ability to shun men, and men don't like that. I'm like, wow, you poor soul. I don't know what team she's playing for, by the way, and I don't really even care. I hope she has somebody in her life that she can love. Joy Reid, that is. Kamala, I don't know. I mean, she really knows how to pick them, from Willie Brown to the guy who took up with the nanny, impregnated the nanny, allegedly. But I would hope that someone like that actually can have a little joy in her life, can have someone who is a life partner that, makes the world about something bigger. For some reason, they're so desperate to tear down men that they no longer value things that are pretty darn basic, like love, which actually is a really important part, dare I say, of procreation. We're at risk of going back to biology 101 here. But you can't hate on men every day, every night, and expect to win this thing, Kamala. You can't have an economy that looks like this with inflation through the nose. I was just telling a friend this morning, I'm like, I went to the diner. Do you know that pancakes were $15.95? $15.95 for pancakes. What is going on in the world? It's out of control. And so 3.5 years later, we're looking at a chart that looks like this, updated from the latest CPI numbers. You got under Harris Biden, energy costs up 34.3%. Transportation costs up 31.1%. Electricity up nearly 32%. Gas prices up nearly 40%. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Coffee's up 20%. Food at K through 12 schools is up 70%. You got pet food up, for goodness sakes, 23%. We are paying more for everything. Everything. And she has no solution. Heck, she wouldn't even do anything different. You heard her on The View the other day, has no plans to do anything different. And then, when Bret Baier has the courtesy to ask her nicely, I'm sorry, Madam Vice President, but you've been there for 3.5 years. How are you really turning the page? She comes back with this whopper. It's Donald Trump's fault. I mean, you need a new messaging person. I'm not a Democrat, so I couldn't do it, but you might be well served, guys, to listen to some of us on the other side of the fence, because I think we could help you a little bit. You'd at least understand the landmines a little bit better. You had to know that question was coming. We are going to watch it again because it's just so much fun.
Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened with the kind of rhetoric.
Gosh, she just loves that word. Sorry.
From Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is
filibustering,
one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam Vice President, more than 70% of people
that is about turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than
You know what? She knows what he's going to say. She knows what's coming. She knows what's coming, and so she's trying to filibuster him here. He doesn't let her get away with it. I have new respect for this guy. I really do. I'm telling you, Brett, this was not an easy interview, so kudos to you.
70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
But
people
you're the
have
lever of
become.
power.
But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk for anyone.
So are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is
God,
it?
I would never say that about the American people.
Actually, the whole party's been saying that over and over again, right? Isn't that what J6 is about? That we have this like strange part of the country that is going to try and take it over for Trump. I mean, that's what we've heard all. I mean, I do believe there's some people that are still in jail, right? Because of all that. So, Kamala, good luck. You're kind of, what would you say, up a creek without a paddle? I mean, remember this one? She kind of said that Joe Biden was perfectly fine. Because one of the questions is, okay, you guys are thinking that Donald Trump is going to pull a coup. But didn't somebody just pull a coup? I mean, Joe Biden was the guy that was elected to be the Democrat nominee. And you just took it away from him and gave it to this lady. This lady who says he's perfectly fine. I mean, if he's perfectly fine, you see how you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If he's perfectly fine, then why did you take it away from him in a coup? If he's not perfectly fine, why did you lie and lie and lie again about Joe Biden? Okay, we're going to watch this one again, too. I promise I won't do this to you next week, but I mean, this was unbelievable.
You call Donald Trump.
The significance
you
of that.
Call Donald Trump. He's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden. that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand.
I mean, like I said, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. There is like literally no way that you're going to be able to finagle that one. I'm just looking at all your comments here. Sean Murphy saying something about her being somewhat incapacitated. I was kind of wondering that. The way she speaks, did you notice like the way she speaks, she's sort of like, maybe it's just because I'm obsessed with diction. I'm a former singer, a classically trained singer. For those of you that know, we got to get a Christmas album going. It'll be here before you know it, right? And you got to hear my Ave Maria. But anyway, I'm a classically trained singer. And as a result of that, I tend to be very attuned to voices. I tend to be very attuned to accents and diction. And I don't like her diction, because there's sort of like a lazy thing going on. And, Sean Murphy's putting it a different way. I'll just put that up there. I don't know if that's the case, but I was sort of wondering, like, how does she just go in there and seem like so uberly relaxed, and she's laughing, and then all of a sudden she transitions into a really angry person. It's like she's all over the place, all within the span of that 18-minute interview. And that was a lot of range. And it was a lot of anger, and she almost seemed angry to start, and then at times like kind of hostile looking, and then at times kind of just out of it. So I don't quite know what to make of that, and I don't want to make allegations. I want to be very cautious about that. But I noticed that her speech pattern is quite peculiar, and I'm not just talking word salad. Good to see you all here on this Friday. Albert, not a retro, thank you for helping to contribute to the show. Ian, it's good to see you back here. Billy, Mike Costa, Don, of course, who's on all of you to make sure that you like and you subscribe, because we're growing hand over fist on this channel. I guess this would be the time to be growing, right? As we come right up on this election. I love this. Some of you have heard this soundbite, but I want you to hear from Stan Druckenmiller. For those that you don't know him, if you don't know him, just take my word. He's like a really, really big deal. And he makes his money trying to anticipate what's coming next in markets, trying to anticipate what's coming next from a regulatory standpoint, et cetera. And he is convinced, as is, Real Clear Politics polling, he is convinced one guy's going to win.
Wondering what the Druckenmiller playbook is.
We're going to fast forward to it.
Is very convinced Trump is going to win. You can see it in the bank stocks. You can see it in crypto. You can even see it in DJT, his social media company. But throughout the whole, I would say the industries that are deregulated, if we had deregulations, will benefit from Trump or outperform the others. So if you put a gun to my head, and thank God there's not one to my head, so this really doesn't matter, I would say that I would have to guess Trump is the favorite to win the election now.
Bingo. He's the favored to win the election. This is actually yesterday's poly market number, so he was up a little bit more. But I think, the direction is there. It's with him. The momentum is with him, and that's super important, you guys. It's really, really good news. I can't imagine why people would vote for more of the same. She says she's going to turn the page. But how is she going to turn the page when she has no new ideas? I mean, other than to give out handouts to any group of people that she deems in need. I mean, the greatest is this forgivable loan for Black Americans. This is a whole thing she's literally trying to buy votes for Black men. She came out with her Harris Opportunity Plan. Let me see if I have a copy of this to show you guys. And the point being, I'm going to give $20,000 out in a, quote, forgivable loan. Well, what is a forgivable loan? It's a handout. It's a handout, baby, because she's a commie. I told you all along. You heard it here first. I hope, for everyone's sake, she does not win. It would actually be unconstitutional to do that. But that hasn't stopped her before, right? This whole idea that somehow we can just wipe away student debt. She went to law school, didn't she? Oh, I know. She's not that bright. She didn't actually pass the bar exam the first time she took it. And I think the law school that she went to is ranked like number 84th or something. So she's no rocket scientist. Yet she wants to regulate crypto and she wants to give free handouts, $20K for anybody who wants to start a business. Oh, and then she's got this other plan. Actually, my friend Lee Habib wrote about this today in Newsweek. Kamala Harris's tax gimmick. He says it's not fooling anyone. It's certainly not fooling any small business owners. So apparently she wants to plan on a $50,000 tax credit for new startups, meaning, well, basically nothing, because you would have to make at least $50,000 in that first year as a small business. And according to the statistics out there on small businesses from the Small Business Association, it can take 3 to 4 years before many small businesses actually turn a profit. So my friend asks, and I quote, "Has anyone on the Harris team ever started or run a business, let alone a lemonade stand?" Quote, most entrepreneurs, this is from Yahoo Business. Most entrepreneurs, at least those who value survival, reinvest almost all profits back into the business in those crucial few years, if they have any, even if it means living off savings or working a second job, to which any small business owner in America would respond with a shrug, duh. In other words, the $50,000 credit is not going to really mean much, but, you know, Kamala doesn't understand business. She's never actually worked in business. She's worked in government. She's gotten plum gigs because she was the ex-girlfriend, I guess, of Willie Brown. Like I said, no taste. No taste. It is good to see you guys on this Friday. Piece of mind saying a big nothing burger. War and Peace saying, he's quoting Rush Limbaugh here. We've got Elliot as well. It is great to see you all. Mike Costa, thank you so much for joining me. Everyone, I got to get going because I'm going to be on Newsmax at 4 o'clock. You're welcome to tune in. We're going to talk about Kamala Harris's tax gimmicks. And I'll be right back here on Monday as well as over the weekend. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share, and make sure you comment below. I'll see you Monday for sure live, as long as you hit the alert. See you then.